Hey guys, we're going to take a look at a second example game here with the Soulbound deck. Oh, sorry. Um, we have opening hand here is pretty good. We have a Coiling Oracle, which is going to be a great opportunity for us to maybe get a Flowering Lumberknot in a little bit earlier. Evolving Wilds will make up for the lack of green in hand, and we have Wingcrafters, so that'll give us an easy option for soul bonding the Lumberknot. So, going to of course start out with the Evolving Wild, sacrificing it at the end of our opponent's turn in order to fetch out the forest that we need to get that turn to Coiling Oracle. Things get even better now. We get a Trusted Force Mage, which is great. That gives us another option. We can put one into play on turn 3 because we do have the mana available, and then turn 4, when we put that into play, we can choose not to bond it with the Oracle on turn 4, hit it on the Lumberknot. Now, that was the plan at least before I had drawn this second Force Mage off of the Coiling Oracle. Now, that gives me an opportunity to actually soulbind the first one to the Coiling Oracle. Opponent puts down an interesting card, Dwarven Berserker. It's a 1/1 that, when blocked, gets +3/+0 and trample. So that means, for the most part, I'm going to let that damage go through. Obviously going to be playing some kind of pump deck that is based around pumping up these abilities. It's usually what you do with this kind of thing is, your opponent chooses not to block since it's a 1/1, and then you pump it up. So draw into another Lumberknot, and that's fantastic. Things are looking really good for us. We have 2 of those available to us, as well as 3 options for soul binding. That means we can soulbind the Oracle. The only thing we're missing here is a 4th land, and hopefully we can get that on the next turn so that we don't miss an opportunity to play that Lumberknot. So down comes the first Force Mage, and I'm going to actually attack through with the Oracle. The triggered ability on the Berserker is only when the Berserker is blocked, not blocking. So going to do 2 damage to my opponent. He taps out now and is going to put down, I almost said Scared Wolf, Sacred Wolf, 3/1 Hexproof. A little bit troublesome, but that 1 toughness is definitely its weak spot. Another card that we could take damage to, and the Lumberknot will help us balance that out. It's kind of interesting. I did actually do a deck myself that was hexproof, and it was a green and white deck. But this is a red and green deck with hexproof and other options for pumping up creatures like the Berserker. So, kind of an interesting deck. I definitely give my opponent some credit for that. But draw into our 4th land, thank God, so we can hit this Lumberknot. It is going to come down, and it's going to just sit there for now, so that next turn when we do soulbind it, it can attack. You want to usually play that before the soulbind creature, unless the soulbind creature is already on the field because it had a smaller mana cost, and this gives us the opportunity to attack with the Lumberknot as soon as possible. If we had played the Force Mage on last turn, then at this point in time we would just be playing the Lumberknot on turn 5, and it would not be able to attack until turn 6. So Force Mage is going to come down, and now going to bond that with the Flowering Lumberknot, which turns it into a 6/6. So I'm going to actually attack through with both of these guys. I'm looking at my opponent here, giving him the option to block with the Wolf, and that could kill off the Coiling Oracle, but then if he does, that gives me an opportunity to put down a new Lumberknot and attach that to the Force Mage. So I'm okay if he kills this. I don't want him actually to kill one of the Force Mages, and that's why I'm leaving this one back and not blocking. If I had chosen to attack with this and he had blocked and killed it, then that means that when my options are worse, because I would have to use the Wingcrafter to pump up the Coiling Oracle. It puts it in a bad position. The Coiling Oracle right now is a 2/2, and that's really nice, but that's only because this Force Mage is alive. So I'm going to be a little bit defensive with how I use my Force Mages when it comes to attacking. I really don't want to lose them to the Sacred Wolf. Like I said, it gives me an opportunity here. If he kills it, I'm in a really good position because my Lumberknot comes into play as a 6/6, like this one is here. So that's an advantage. But if he had killed the Force Mage, then I lose basically 1 damage off the Oracle and a body off the field, and I'm going to use the Lumberknot in conjunction with the Wingcrafter over the next couple of turns. So it's just a less powerful play. This is why, like I said, you want to be a little more defensive with how you use these Force Mages. It's a little unfortunate we can't do something like soulbind to multiple creatures and give those hexproof or whatnot, and connect more creatures together. It would be a lot of fun, but I thought this was a pretty good example, and this is the main reason I wanted to use this specific game as an example video, is kind of to show the interactions with the Flowering Lumberknots and playing your priority of playing them, as well as the ability to play a little defensive with these creatures that are a little bit more fragile than, say, the Shield Mate that has the hexproof. So opponent's starting to make his moves, and this is kind of where it's interesting. I said I had made a green and white hexproof deck that uses enchantments to pump the creatures, and this is the red version. He's bringing in an interesting one, +2/+2 for the bitten, and attacks every turn if able. Now this is not so bad at this point in time. He does concede out here, but not so bad at this point in time. It's only 3 damage. I do have this other Lumberknot that is going to come into play next turn. Unfortunately, it's not going to be able to block for yet another turn unless I draw a land here, because the Wingcrafter is going to take an additional mana than I have, that I don't have, sorry. So, it could cause me trouble for a few turns, but as long as it's just a 3/3, it's not something I'm too concerned about. I could take some damage to it. If he decided to block with it, I lose this Lumberknot, and that sucks, but it does give me other options as far as putting a Wingcrafter and a Coiling Oracle. Wingcrafter might have been the better move if he had decided to double block onto the Lumberknot, because that would have given me an option to do some damage via flying, and he's only at 8 life, so being able to get that extra little bit of damage in would have been very, very helpful. So there you go. I just wanted to showcase this one because I felt it had a really great look at how the interactions can go between the bonds and all the creatures. So definitely check out the rest of the videos. Check out the article on puremtgo.com.